In this video, we want to look at using our calculator to estimate the mean age of students. We're going to have to do an estimate because we've already put our data into a frequency distribution. So we no longer have the raw values. For instance, I can tell that between the ages of 18 and 22, the frequency is 23. So there are 23 students within that range, but I don't know exactly how many 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, etc. So at best, I can only do an estimate. So how do we do this? The first thing we need to do is to find the midpoints for each class, and recall that we can find the midpoints by adding the upper and lower class limit and dividing by 2. So for this first category, if I add 18 and 22, that gives me 40. If I divide by 2, it gives me 20. So that's my midpoint. Now, we could do that all the way down, or we could use the class width. If we look at consecutive lower class limits, we see that they have a difference of 5. So our class width is 5, and I can use that to get successive midpoints. So my first midpoint is 20, the next would be 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and 50. Okay? So we'll use those midpoints to estimate the value for each class. So 20 is a good representative value for the class of ages from 18 to 22. And 25 is a good estimate for the ages 23 to 27. Now, the next thing we're going to do is look at the formula for finding the mean from a frequency distribution. And that formula is x bar equals the summation of x times f divided by the sum of f. What this formula says is we're going to add up. The summation symbol says we add up anything that follows. In this case, we're going to add all of the products of x times f, where x represents the midpoint and f is going to be the frequency. So if we were to do this manually, we would multiply 20 times 23, 25 times 10, 30 times 11, and then we would add all of those products up. Okay? And then on the bottom, we're going to divide by the total frequency. All right? Summation of f means to find the total frequency. But thankfully, our calculator will do this for us, so I'm going to show you how. All right, on the calculator, first thing, of course, we need to do is enter our data. And I'm going to go to Stat, select Edit. And then I already have in List 2 and List 3 my midpoints and the corresponding frequencies. So you need to put the midpoints in one list, and then in a separate list, put the corresponding frequencies. Once you have that already in your calculator, we'll go back to the home screen, and I'm going to hit Stat, Calc, use my right arrow to go over to Calc. Number 1 is one variable stats. And different from when we were just looking at single variable data that was not already summarized, I need to tell the calculator where the x values or frequencies are. So my x values were in L2, so second 2. I'm going to follow that with a comma, and then my frequencies are in L3, so second L3. So we did one variable stats, we tell it where the are, and then we tell it where our frequencies are, and we have to put a comma between those two. If you have a different version of the calculator, you might see something that looks more like a menu. It'll say list, frequency, and calculate. That allows you not to have to memorize the syntax. It walks you through the same steps. When you hit one variable stats and go over to calculate, that's what you'll see. And so for list, you'll enter the list that contains your midpoints. And for frequency, you'll enter the list that contains the frequencies. You don't need to worry about entering the comma. Just arrow down to calculate, hit enter, and then you'll get the same results that we're going to get. We're going to hit enter. And you can see we get the sample mean, just like we did before. Also, our sample standard deviation and our population standard deviation. You can arrow down to see additional information. We should also note that here it gives us the total number of values, or that's the sum of our frequencies for this frequency distribution.